Hi, and welcome to episode 6 of Love Most, the podcast with Dea. I am your host. When I thought of doing Love Most, the podcast as a concept, I saw no separation amongst us. I wanted to connect with people and help connect those people with you. Love Most, the podcast is an inclusive platform where I get to connect with people that are doing something that help impact their community around them or the world around them in some way. Love, when you love most, you include, not exclude. Love, and it's not just a feeling, love is a decision, love is an action. And I feel that in a world of today where there is so much judging, bullying, and public shaming, I am inviting you today to, above all things, love most. Now, I have an incredible guest today, and so let's get started.
How are you helping change the world around you? Welcome to Love Most, the podcast with Dea, where you are invited to share your gifts and to, above all things, love most. Brought to you by Dea Music Ministry. For more information on how to be a guest, please visit www.deamusicministry.net. That's www.deamusicministry.net.
Hello and welcome. So, how are you? How are you feeling today?
I'm doing great. It's really nice to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. So I'd like to introduce you and welcome you officially to Love Most, the podcast with Dea. Everyone, please help me welcome the beautiful, actually stunning, gorgeous Lana Kerr. She's here today with us. But before we start the interview, I'd like to read a little bit about who you are and let everyone know what you're up to. So Lana has a degree. So you have a degree in business and accounting. You also have a degree from Global College of Natural Medicine. Have a certification in the subconscious restructuring. That's a show in itself right there. You are the founder of Your Fat Loss Coach. You're also a published author. You're a mother of 2 boys, a wife to Terry of, is it 24 years?
Yes.
24, but okay. Also the founder and CEO of Lumisque Skincare and the visionary behind the CO2 Lift carboxy gel product line. So the first thing I'd like to do is for you to let us know, tell us what is carboxy gel therapy or treatment and how does it work?
Okay. Well, carboxy therapy is really the therapeutic use of carbon dioxide for skin regeneration. And it goes back way into 1933. But initially, the only delivery system was an injection. So they would infuse the CO2 lift or CO2 gas, carbon dioxide, into the skin. And but now we have the first gel delivery system. So this gel infuses CO2 into the skin. And what it does, it produces a natural response. So the body responds naturally by infusing oxygen-rich blood to that area, which is going to help to promote skin turnover, angiogenesis, just regeneration of the tissue, pro-collagen. Really, very quickly, it does that. So that's really what carboxy therapy is. And CO2 Lift is the first gel delivery system of carbon dioxide into the skin.
Okay. So now the products CO2 Lift and CO2LiftV were developed with maximum hydration in mind, but we know that it has many benefits beyond hydration, and we'll talk about those a little later on. But I wanted you to explain how it's actually used.
Okay. So, oh my goodness, Dea, it has so many applications, so many indications, just because if you understand what it's actually doing, you can address so many problems. So in fact, there was a doctor that quoted this, and I thought, this is, let me give credit to Dr. Lupo, Dr. Mary Lupo. She's a a board certified dermatologist in Louisiana. She said that the limitations of the uses of CO2 lift carboxy is limited only to the imagination of the physician, because if you understand, it's addressing inflammation, hydration, skin turnover. So to answer your question, they've used it in wound healing for diabetic ulcers. In fact, we're just started another study looking at how effective it is for diabetic ulcers. We did a pilot study. Now we're doing a larger study that will be completed in November. But so you talk about wound healing. So if you go to your dermatologist or your skincare professional, they may use it to prep your skin before doing a procedure. They're going to use it post procedure to help to speed up healing. You're going to use it for if you have eczema or if you have some type of irritation of the skin. You're going to use it for, I like to say, you don't get old, you dry up. We talk about hydration for just, you want to keep your skin full of water. So you just for normal maintenance of the skin. Then we have the V application, which is for, do you want me to say that now or is that separate?
Well, we'll go over that. I actually wanted you to tell us how it is applied, because many women, so one of the things that I wanted to point out is that what is extremely impressive and very encouraging is that the product itself it's 100% safe. It contains no hormones, and it's a product that's non-invasive, and it has it is immediate results. And I am not kidding. You will put it on and you will see immediate results. So how is it that it is applied? How is it so you could do the CO2 lift first and then tell about the CO2LiftV. What does the application of the product involve?
Okay, so basically you're going to receive 2 packets, and I wish I had it to show you 2 packets. And then when you mix them together, so you mix it in a bowl, and what that is actually doing, it actually produces the CO2 at that time. And then you're going to, once you mix it for maybe about 60 seconds until it's smooth, like whipped cream, then you simply apply to whatever area. So it can be the face, you apply to the face, right up to the lash line, right over the eyelid, the neck, very important, or really anywhere on the body. And you leave it on for at least 35 to 45 minutes. Okay. And then you simply, once it's left on, it's very cooling when you leave it on, then you just simply take the same applicator stick and you just peel it off. And then you're good to go. There's no downtime. They will reduce redness, give you a glow as as you've experienced.
Yes, absolutely. And the CO2LiftV how is that applied? So the product comes in a kit, correct?
Correct. And it's going to be a similar look to when you do the face. It's the 2 packets. You mix it together. It's a smaller amount. You mix it together in a bowl or a little cup, and then it comes with an applicator. Once you mix that thoroughly, you pull it up in the syringe applicator. You I'm just going to say install it. You put it in.
Insert.
You insert like almost like a tampon that you put it in. And it's not. I have to tell you something today. It's not only good for the top, the front, the vagina, but even the anus. Some people have hemorrhoids. It's really good for taking care of that. I think that's important to say. So you would insert it into whichever hole, and then you basically put the rest on to the area. And again, you can leave it on for 45 minutes. I personally like to sleep in it. And then the next morning, I just simply go to the bathroom, and then you go on, sit down, and you take the thing, push it up,
flush it out,
water, flush it out, and you're good to go.
Okay. And it's also, as I understand, a product that is applied internally as well as externally. So the remainder of the gel can be applied on the outside. And it's just like what you do for your face. Yes. It'll help with plumpness. It'll help with just that rejuvenation, right? Because we're talking about rejuvenation in a packet. Literally, you can see the results immediately. Yes. So one question, and we're gonna go into what it does and who can use this later on. Okay. The next question I have for you is, so having used the products myself, 3 words came to mind: restore, revive, replenish. Okay, a way to maintain parts of our bodies and the way it functions, because I really feel that it is affecting the way that the actual body, the body parts, be our vagina or our face or our skin, how it's functioning, how the skin, for example, which is, I guess skin is considered an organ, correct?
Yes.
How is that functioning? How is that absorbing or protecting us from the free radicals or whatnot? And the healthier the skin, the more protected we are. I wanted to ask you, why do you think it's so important to intentionally pay attention to maintenance and functionality of our organs or our bodies in general?
Wow. I think it's, we talk about, self-care. That's probably the word that is going around so often,
Mhm.
self-care. And self-care includes many things, but it also includes taking care of our bodies. And I would define that as really, it's the gift that we give ourselves to restore our souls so that we can
Mhm.
be better human beings. So I think that taking the time to take care of our bodies is important to not only, as you mentioned, to just be healthier on the outside, but also to nourish our emotions. It makes us more confident. It makes us more giving. It helps us to just be more into more aware and intentional about everything that we do by taking that time to take care of ourselves. And I don't know if that's the question you asked me, but that's what came to mind when you
No,
started
it is.
the
It
question.
is. And it's interesting because I know for myself as a woman and mother of five, there were, we go through so many seasons of life during the childbearing years, then in between where we experience a little more of a kind of a little bit back to ourselves, but sometimes not fully. And this is why this product is so important. But even as we age, going through the change, my life was impacted emotionally and even spiritually, as well as physically, of course. To me, beauty is a layer of maturity, right? It's how we mature, and beauty is in there in some way. Mentally, in the way that we are placed in society, beauty has become extremely important. But again, beauty is something that it's also how we perceive ourselves. And this is why it's so important to really take matters into our own hands, if you will, and say, okay, I'm going to do something that's good for me, for my body, knowing that it's healthy, knowing that it's something that's non-invasive, that I can do in the privacy of my own home, knowing that it's safe, really adds another layer to maturing, because it's literally saying, I'm going to do something that's good for my body, something for myself. I think you mentioned something in one of the interviews that I've watched, that it actually improves your relationship to yourself. Also, if you are married or in a relationship with someone, that it improves that relationship as well. I can't help but wonder how many marriages you're saving, because it becomes vaginal health, right, and functionality is not a conversation that everyone is willing to have, and a lot of people are very uncomfortable depending on what culture they're from. We're affected culturally by that. And I think the product itself opens a door. The use of the product opens that conversation up, that women need to be talking about that. We are nurturers by nature. So when we are feeling well, when we're feeling healthy, we're more likely to relate to other women. So I wanted to go over with you some of so I wanted to see if this is actually correct, because I know we covered the CO2 lift and you talked about the CO2 lift V. I just want to revise that because I feel that it's so impactful, really, from a femininity standpoint. You address dryness. It balances the pH. It even heightens sensation, right? It restores texture of the vaginal walls. It
Yes.
increases lubrication. It improves your relationship with yourself and your partner for the obvious reasons. And it also helps cosmetically. We talked about how it will plump and tighten the area out on the outside as well as the inside. So tell us, based on all of these things that we said, I wanted to go over who can use this product, because I think it's for so many uses, for so many, both women and men, right? Because we have some issues, and the product itself can be interchangeable amongst the genders.
Yes, yes. Well, I want to start to just step back and say that when you asked me the question initially on self-care and the CO2, was particularly referring to the face, neck, and body, but definitely, as you said, taking care of our whole self, especially as women, our vaginal, our intimate health, it needs to be a part of what is called self-care. And it's super important because of all those different things it's helping with. But the thing about it is that in CO2LiftV, why it's actually bringing a better relationship with yourself as well as your partner is because as a woman, I'm speaking from that point of view, by focusing on that area, taking care of it, you're just reaffirming just your womanhood, the power that you may have, the confidence that you feel as being a woman. And then in terms of the relationship with your partner is that you're expecting that intimacy is going to be fun. You're expecting that it's going to be more enjoyable. And so you approach it from a different angle, as opposed to not just taking care of your partner, but you will recognize, especially then, that whole act is also about taking care and feeding yourself as well.
And I wanted to add, for those of you who are listening, that this is also a product that is great for preparation. Okay. And what I mean by preparation, women who may not be sexually active,
Yes, okay.
right? Women that may be getting ready to be intimate with someone, or if you choose to have a life where sexual activity is not a part of it, but you're still taking care of your body. And the reason is, I think I heard you say something about a tooth, that if you don't take care of a tooth and there is no function to that tooth, eventually it decays, right? Every organ needs to have its functionality, and we need to maintain that optimal functionality by taking care of it. If you don't take care of it, like anything in life, it will get depleted. It will not operate in the right manner. So I think
it's muscle. We said, I think a muscle, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
Exactly. And so for that area, when you're not sexually active, you're not in a relationship, you're not doing that, you want to maintain it. And so blood flow is a big part of it. And that's what CO2LiftV is doing for that area, is continuing to keep blood flow there and keep you just aware of your femininity. And when you're you're ready to be intimate, you're prepared, you're confident, you didn't lose it. It's like just jumping right back on a bike.
Exactly. So, so the women for women of all ages, obviously, right? So you've spoken in a recent interview concerning pre and post delivery, right? So pre-delivery would be to help with the elasticity, right? So it would help the women to maybe have a better delivery, or maybe not as painful, maybe however it affects the body. Also, post-delivery would help with, say, there is a tear, right? So that would help healing that wound. During breastfeeding, is it safe to use the product? I know the product is safe, but we want to know, why is it so important during breastfeeding? Can you tell us why?
Well, during breastfeeding, because of prolactin, a woman can get drier down there, and so this is going to help to increase lubrication. So for her to make sure that is still comfortable and as enjoyable as possible in her intimate relationship with her husband. I mean, no, she has a child. I think that's even more important during that phase. It's going to help her. But it's more than just even a tear, I think, for a woman. So a GYN would recommend doing the CO2LiftV maybe just the week of delivery, just as you said, to increase elasticity. The CO2 lift for the face and body, maybe on her stomach, to avoid, stretch marks, as by the third or fourth month on a regular basis. Just a monthly use of it will help with that. But going back into the V after delivery, I think it's even important to think about the fact that just bringing back connection and functionality to, your that area for your partner and for you, so it's any tears, it will heal that, but also to just bringing you back to who you are,
so restoring the vaginal wall, creating that texture back to what it used to be. I mean, we as women know that after deliveries, it comes to that 6-week post, and we are supposed to start trying to go back and being intimate. And it is difficult. The sensation is completely different, and it affects us emotionally and psychologically. I can't imagine, someone not feeling this. And the reason why I think it's so important to have this conversation, when you mention about the prolactin, for instance, and I wanted to mention for those of you who are watching who might not have had a baby yet and don't know what prolactin is the hormone that is responsible for helping with the milk production. So that hormone in itself sometimes even causes breast lumps, right? It does a lot of things during the childbearing years, especially when you're breastfeeding. We go through so many changes. And like Lana mentioned, it does cause dryness down there, and it's important to address it, right? Because those are also the times when as your baby gets older, you're trying to reconnect with your partner. There's so many things that happen, when we're doing that, and we also breastfeeding a baby. It is hard being a woman, but I think it's easier being a woman today, perhaps because we have the platform for having these important conversations, no matter how uncomfortable, right? Because back when we had children, and our children are all well over, I have some younger, under 20, but you have boys that are older than 20, and I have children in their 30s. And back in those days, we didn't talk about any of this, so I think it's actually a little easier. And so I want to say thank you to you because I think that your product opens up that conversation. We have an incredible platform, and the mission absolutely goes beyond the product itself. It's a I call the CO2 movement. I have watched your social media and have seen that there is a family, a group of women, a tribe of women that are passionate about their wellness. Some of them, and I want you to touch on that subject, some of them have gone through cancer, for example, and done chemotherapy. Can you tell us how the CO2 products affect and help them?
Yes. First of all, we're coming up onto that time of year when people are remembering, about Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But I think one of the conversations that is not really had is, after you've gone through that, how do you get back your life? You've had chemo, you've gone through that, and you're now cancer free. But how do you get back to yourself? Because a lot of things can happen. For instance, the vaginal tissue down there gets very thin, and so sex can be very painful. It can bleed, and the CO2LiftV has helped many of our survivors to get back their quality of life, because it very quickly rebuilds that, so they can have an intimate life again. You'll see some of the women who have gone through even their ports to be able to use a CO2 lift to help to heal that area. I've even seen someone had posted about hair growth with the carboxy. So in so many areas, the carboxy has helped to restore us if we happen to go into that, have those challenges, to be able to get back our quality of life. So yes, it has definitely helped for women of all ages.
It's wonderful. And, actually, I'm glad that you mentioned about someone trying for hair, because I had COVID back in April. And one of the things that happened when you have a severe case of COVID, because due to the stress of hospitalization, a lot of women and men are experiencing hair loss. And I am going through that right now. So when I first tried the carboxy gel for the scalp, the first time I used it, the next couple of days, the hair loss actually decreased, because the way that I kept track of it is during the shower, I would touch my hair, whatever fell off, I pasted on the wall, because I wanted to see the next day it would be less and less. And there was a decrease in the amount of hair that was falling. So I am on my second week that I'm going to do I did a second treatment today. And immediately the 2 days after, I noticed the first time I used that was a decrease. Now I know that that's something that is being currently tested, but I feel that, I can imagine that because of the emotional impact that it has, like, we as women need to have that self-care place for ourselves. Oftentimes during the seasons of life, we're constantly giving so much, right? We're nurturers by nature, as I mentioned earlier. So I feel that having this little time for yourself, the 45 minutes that you literally could put on some music, kick back, and be just, you're taking good care of yourself, and you're doing it in a safe way. It's very important to make the distinction between feeling healthy, being healthy. And then sometimes women have often said, I'm living my best life. Sometimes living your best life doesn't include things that are not so great for you. Yes. And this is one of those products where it's absolutely wonderful, safe, non-invasive. You could do it in the privacy of your own home. I think that really adds a lot to us as women. How do you think and I think you might have touched already on this. I'm going to repeat the question because I wanted people to hear. Maybe you could say it again in a different way. How do you think your carboxy gel line, particularly the CO2LiftV, affects femininity? I think we've talked about that already, right? But is there anything else that you wanted to add to that aspect of femininity versus, including that we are taking care of ourselves and at a different level?
Yeah, I think even you kind of brought it up when we started talking about, when you have a child, we kind of lose ourselves, I feel, especially in that first year, to our children. And it affects our relationship. I know for me personally, I think that was the first time in my marriage that I even experienced, really, we had a lot of issues. And it just, because I wasn't including him and it wasn't intimate in the same way. Everything was focused on the baby. And a lot of my friends were experiencing the same thing. And we didn't really have anyone to tell us why. And I think one of the things is, I was disconnected from just down there. I'm thinking of just being a mother, that role. The CO2LiftV adds a layer back into femininity, especially in that area, I feel, of a woman's life. Because when you start to take care of something, you focus on it, you remember, you reconnect with it. And I think that would have helped me a lot in my after each the two children that I had during that time. It was same thing. After the second one, the same thing. You just kind of just forget about him, so to start taking care of it with the CO2LiftV in particular, not only healing, because I remember going to my friend who delivered my first son and telling her, when the 6 weeks came, I said, please write a note, extend it for another 6 weeks. I just was not ready to go back into that saddle. But if I had the CO2LiftV, it would have made it more comfortable. It would have reminded me and just reconnected me with that area. And then again, in turn, reconnecting me with my husband. But that's just one area. In terms of other areas, so that's just one part of life when you just have a child. But I think even as we get after your children growing up in our careers, we kind of lose ourselves because we're so live into our heads. We so are focused on what it is that we need to do. We have so few maybe cues, sexual cues. I think as a woman, I always say a man, the breeze will blow and they'll remember, you know what I'm saying, what they need. I think for women, by taking care of that, we remember we remember ourselves,
So we reconnect, right? It's a way of reconnecting with ourselves as women.
Yes, and I think it's very powerful. I for myself, it made me, even you're talking about, I'm in my 40s and I gained a level of confidence that I've never had. I gained a level of even enjoyment in intimacy with my husband that I really have never had. Even the confidence that I have during the act made everything even better because of it. So it's not only the physiological aspect, Dale, that is bringing in more arousal, more blood flow, all of that, but even it affects your desire. It affects the way you think, and you recognize that this is a part of self-care. So I will go back into that and I initiate in a different way because it's filling up myself too.
Wow. Yeah, I think that it's so much to be said for that type of confidence. And I can't help to think that there are so many women out there who get to have body changes in a physiological way, and it affects them in such a different way, emotionally, even spiritually. And I can't help to wonder how it impacts their marriages. Maybe people are not able to maintain their marriages because of losing the connection with themselves physically, which even though people may think it doesn't play a part in the overall health, meaning emotionally and spiritually, I think it does. I mean, the body, the better we feel, right? The better we feel, the better we are. And that actually pours into other areas of our lives, not just in our relationships, but even in the relationship with other women. You hear people say all the time, women are so catty, but go to a group of women that are the tribe. These are women that are taking care of themselves, made the choices to feel good, do good, because then when you do that, you feel you're much more capable of being there for other people. One question that I wanted to ask you is, what do you wish you knew as a young woman and as a young mom that you know now? Because, we can't connect, unfortunately, we can't connect the dots going forward. We connect them going backwards. But if you had to give advice to a young woman, a young mother, what would you say to them? Based on what you wish you knew?
Oh my goodness, that's such a big question. There's so many things that I would definitely tell a younger woman or my younger self. But one of the things, besides taking care of your neck, start taking care of your neck.
That's a good one.
I would say that to a young mother is that, having children is such a privilege to be able to bring a young life and to be able to groom or mold this person into being the best person that they can be. And that's such an important role and such a great weighty responsibility that oftentimes the payback is not even there to the extent that you have put into this project initially. But during that process, one of the things in terms of molding this person is making sure that you're modeling the type of woman, if you have a daughter, that you want them to be, or for your son, modeling the type of woman he may want to have in the future. So therefore, in that process, you still need to maintain and take care of yourself. So I think the 45 minutes of just spending time with yourself is so important. And I really look back and I didn't do that for myself. I didn't do that initially in the part of when I was a young mother. Eventually, because of just my training and the things I was doing with other people, that I recognized the importance of it. But I think for a young mother, that definitely do not forget it, and definitely do not forget that your intimate self is so important. in terms of building up yourself as a woman, making you feel back to who you are, and also reconnecting with your partner.
Wow. So I love it. And, I wanted to point out that your company actually is an outstanding company. Obviously, your mission goes way beyond the product itself. There is a beautiful community of women on social media that are part of this movement. I'm calling it the CO2 Lift movement. You got to make a t-shirt or something, because I love it. I think that it's, this is the way by which women are reconnecting to themselves first. And then they're lending a hand. There are a number of women that are affiliate in your company, including myself. I absolutely love the mission. I also had the opportunity to deal directly with your customer service personnel. Everyone behaves in a way to enhance the experience with the CO2 Lift products. I want to put down the website for everybody so they can see. Let's see here. That is okay. Let me not put that in just yet, because I didn't even ask you if you wanted people to know that. Tell us how people can find you, how they can connect with you and the company. So we have the CO2Lift.com is the website. Anyone who's watching today, please use the code LOVEMOST10 when you shop. I absolutely recommend that you at least try, right? I know that, people, when they think try, they think one. I'd love to recommend it's called the Derma Lift product. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Derma roller.
Great starter, the Derma roller kit, correct?
Yeah. The Derma roller kit, I really thank you for bringing that up. I think that's a great kit because it has 3 carboxy. And when all the clinical studies always show that you want to do it in a series of 3. But I like having the Derma roller because it's like, for any of you who've had microneedling, it's obviously not as deep as what you would get in a professional office, but it's a 0.5 millimeter needle. And what it does, it actually helps to exfoliate the skin and allows the carboxy to go in even deeper. But it's a great way to be introduced to carboxy because you just roll the skin. You don't have to do it hard. You can do it at whatever comfort level. I mean, I know I do mine, every 2 to 3 weeks, and I do it rough, but then I
rough as well.
And then you
get used to it. You get used to it.
You get used to it. But the carboxy helps because it's going to, whatever tearing that you may read, don't do derma rolling because you can cut the skin in a different way. But with the carboxy, because it's healing, you have nothing to lose. So anything that you did incorrectly in rolling is going to repair that, and it's going to help to build back really good skin and help you. So the Derma roller is a great way. But to answer your question, yes, CO2 Lift is our store that you can go to. We love connecting on our Instagram or Facebook. So definitely go ahead and follow us. DM us something nice if you had a great experience or any questions you have. Our support is very responsive to that as well. And as you said, it's a community we are trying to build. We're a young company, young community, but we're growing, and we're growing with people like yourself, women, powerful, empowered women like yourself. So we're really, really grateful for all of you. And not only women, I don't want to exclude our men. We have many male loyal glowers, as I like to call them, who are into their skin as well, and into other areas of their body that the CO2 Lift can help with. And I think you're going to like it.
Yes. And also make sure, and this is my honest advice, take a photo of yourself. Do yourself a favor. If you were to buy the Derma roller kit, which comes with the 3 packets of the 3 different applications. So they would use 3 times and then do it once a month after that, correct? So they would do it once a week for 3 weeks, and then they would do it once a month after that. The reason why I love that is because I'm guaranteeing you're going to do it the first time. Take a picture before, take a picture after, and you're going to see it. I know that we spoke about a lot of the things I can do. I wanted to just add a few more things that I found during the research that I do looking into your company. Women with polycystic ovarian syndrome, right? They can use that. It helps restore the vaginal tissue. You spoke about even, I think, diabetic wounds. You can help heal some of the diabetic wounds. So you can see it's not just for women. It could be used for men as well who have those issues. Also, I think the something that everyone should know, that you will see the results. I guarantee you will see it. It's not like we're not making this up. You really need to do it, and send your pictures via DM to the company, because they're very committed and passionate about sharing the experience. Because really, at the end of the day, It is experience that it provides. It just goes so much beyond the product. I love your company. I have
Yeah, thank you so much. And I want to make a point. So, guys, where she's talking about sharing the pictures on the face or the neck, as much as we love them for the vaginal area, you don't need to share those with us, but you can see it for yourself. But it's not only seeing the difference when we talk about the V, it's feeling the difference. You actually feel the difference right away. So, for those of you who are, sexually active, you're using it, you'll see a difference. And even if you're not, you're going to feel, it just feels cooler. You feel just so much more refreshed. And then of course, the emotional and just all the things we talked about with the V, you're going to see and feel that are very important.
Young women and older women too, women going through the change. And remember, when the younger you are, the more it will feel like a preparation, right? Yes. It's a preparation that whether you're using it in your neck, you're going to be preventing those lines later on in life. I think it's a great way. It really is. There is so much emphasis in beauty in the wrong fashion out in the media, right? So we need more products like this that are helping. Again, it's about reconnecting with yourself. It's a replenishment. It is sort of reviving or going back to what you feel like you're giving, going back to what you used to be. Those things are really extremely important. Women are powerful. Okay. I want to say that because I think we spoke about the product and how it relates to femininity. And we as feminine beings are very influential within our own communities and the extension of us, which is our families, our children, our neighbors, our co-workers. And I think we need to keep that in mind. And, this is the product that defines all of that and puts it all together. So thank you so much, Lana, for being here with us today. It was an absolute pleasure. I hope that everyone learned a lot from you. I think you are the embodiment of beauty and brains, and you have the heart of gold to go with it. So I'm really thankful to have you here. Everyone, please follow my Journey a Day Ministry on Instagram. There is a link tree. You can see all of my channels there for YouTube channels. And certainly tune in again for the next episode of Love Most, the podcast with Dea. Thank you again for joining and have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Thank you, Dea. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.